listening to the WrestleHavoc podcast on YouTube, where we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. We talk all that goes on in the realm of WWE and AEW every week. And now, here's your host, the one that will give you a reality check on pro wrestling, Flamin' Ricky DeReyes. This is the WrestleHavoc podcast.
What's up, everybody? It is Flamin' Ricky DeReyes right here on episode 24 of the WrestleHavoc podcast, of course, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and as the frickin' referee would say, ring that damn bell for more notifications. Big day if you are an AEW fan. It is official. The heart and soul of the company, the Elite, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, and Hangman Adam Page sign new deals with the promotion, and they will be in AEW long-term for the future. Hallelujah. Thank Christ. Thank God in heaven. They are staying. They are staying, and they are not going anywhere. A lot of concern regarding the fan base about the status of the Elite. I was one of them. I was one of those people in the belief that if AEW loses the Elite and the Elite ever went to WWE, you know, what would be AEW? AEW would have no identity whatsoever. You know, the Elite are literally the heart and soul of that company. They lost Cody last year. They can't afford to lose Kenny, the Bucks, and Hangman. But thankfully, now the Elite are going to be staying with AEW. That is great news at the end of the day. So I will be giving you guys my thoughts on that. Of course, the Collision ratings are out, and Collision actually scored their second highest rating this past Saturday on TNT, which was a phenomenal show. Of course, we had a phenomenal segment with CM Punk and Ricky Starks where CM Punk basically revealed what was in that red bag, and it was the AEW World Championship that he never lost, and he declared himself as the real world champion. We also had, of course, Andrade El Idolo taking on Buddy Matthews in a ladder match. We also had FTR taking on Adam Cole and MJF. We also had the Cody Rhodes documentary. Yes, the Cody Rhodes documentary. I watched the Cody Rhodes documentary, and I thought it was a phenomenal documentary. But the biggest problem with the documentary was not the documentary itself. It was basically the reaction on social media over one thing that only lasted for like a couple of seconds. And that was Triple H calling AEW a secondary promotion. And I'm going to let you guys all know that that is not a big deal whatsoever. And I'm going to be talking about that because literally fans are making something out of nothing. Literally, it's not a big deal. AEW is the number 2 promotion in the United States. I don't know why people are fucking salty about that, but I will be talking about that because fans are making some stupid remarks on the internet. But overall, I thought the Cody documentary was amazing. It was phenomenal. One of the best documentaries that WWE has put out ever since they've been on Peacock. The Peacock documentaries with WWE have been phenomenal. They did a Yokozuna documentary, I believe. They did the Icon series. They also did the Evil series, which I absolutely loved. Very good stuff when it comes to WWE. Of course, they are always top-notch when it comes to their production. So we'll be talking about that as well. Also, SummerSlam. Yes, SummerSlam is, I don't want to say in the news, but SummerSlam is this Saturday taking place from Ford Field in Detroit. And I'm going to be giving you guys my preview and predictions for this Saturday's SummerSlam. Should be a very, very, very good show. So I'm going to be talking about that as well. Vince McMahon is in the news again. Apparently he was served some subpoenas a couple of weeks ago in the month of July. So we're going to be talking about that as well and much more right here on episode 24 of the WrestleHavoc podcast, of course, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content. And as the freaking referee would say, ring that damn bell for more notifications. Of course, if you guys had missed it, the Monday Night Raw review is up on the channel. I talk about Brock Lesnar and Cody Rhodes going face-to-face before their third match at SummerSlam, and it was, of course, the SummerSlam go-home show. Surprisingly, I actually thought this wasn't that bad of an episode of Raw. If you compare this week's episode of Raw to last week's wasn't really that good. This week, you know, even though it had some stuff that I just didn't like at all, this wasn't a bad show whatsoever, and I'm definitely looking forward to see what's going to be happening at SummerSlam. So if you guys haven't checked out the Monday Night Raw review. The link will be in the description below. Also, the SmackDown review is also up on the channel. I'll talk about Jey Uso promising that he will beat Roman Reigns once again. Overall, it was a fine episode of SmackDown. Nothing really special, but if you guys haven't checked out the SmackDown review as well, both the Raw and SmackDown review will be in the link in the description below. So, yeah, be on the lookout for those videos. All right, moving on. Let's start off the show with talking about the Elite. Yes, the Elite, Kenny Omega, Matt Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks, and Hangman Adam Page. They all renew contracts with All Elite Wrestling. This is according to Sports Illustrated. The Elite renew contracts with AEW. Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, and Hangman Adam Page will all remain with the company. All 4 members of the Elite have renewed their contracts with All Elite Wrestling, Sports Illustrated has learned. Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, Matt Jackson, and Nick Jackson, and Hangman Adam Page each signed multi-year deals, ensuring that AEW will remain elite. In a quote, "The Elite have been so important to the launch of AEW, with the Young Bucks going all in when I first approached them in 2018 about my dream to create an international pro wrestling promotion," said Tony Khan, who is the CEO, GM, and head of creative of AEW. Shortly after that, their partners and closest friends, Kenny Omega, Hangman Adam Page, joined us to formally launch AEW. All 4 of them have been instrumental in AEW's success from the very first episode of Dynamite in 2019 through the present day. Now, as we celebrate tonight's 200th episode of AEW Dynamite, I'm excited to share that Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, and Hangman Adam Page will all be staying in AEW for years to come. We look forward to celebrating the great news with fans all around the world. In addition to their work on screen, Omega and the Bucks will remain executive vice presidents. They've been in that role since AEW's creation in 2019 and will continue to work to elevate the company even higher into the wrestling promotion. So that was the article by Sports Illustrated. We actually have an update by Fightful Select on the Elite re-signing with AEW. Throughout the process, Fightful Select reported numerous times that the deals were actively being worked out and that the entire group was expected to stay with All Elite Wrestling. We've also learned that Kenny Omega, Matt Jackson, and Nick Jackson will retain their EVP status with the company. When we asked about the length, we're told that one of them was, quote-unquote, at least 4 years, but aren't sure if that all of those deals match up. The deals were completed over the last couple of weeks. Numerous sources within WWE indicated that they would have had interest in any and all members of the group. There were some people within WWE that felt like they stood a chance at potentially landing the group, but serious talks never engaged as far as we know. Those we spoke to in WWE said that the company had positive experiences in dealing with Omega and the Bucks in 2018. Regarding the Young Bucks, we've heard that there is some quote-unquote movement on a potential of them facing FTR in a long-awaited rematch. And we've not heard about the potential of a CM Punk Elite feud being approached. One of those notable things about the deals was how long it took for them to hammer them out. Fightful reported back in January that All Elite Wrestling were looking to get the ball rolling. In the following months, Fightful Select also reported that Hangman Page and Kenny Omega were in talks following that. Those we spoke to did say that CM Punk's return did cause a slowdown as things were being discussed involving his return to the company and how things would work out. All 4 were being represented by Barry Bloom, who also represents Bill Goldberg, Chris Jericho, and others. And for those asking, we were told that the Elite were also planned for AEW Dynamite 200, and it wasn't tied to the new contracts. We're told that Hangman and Nick Jackson had off last week to celebrate birthdays. All right, let's talk about the Elite, man. This is nothing but positive for AEW. I talked about this throughout the majority of this whole year, man. The AEW's number one priority was to keep Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, and Hangman Adam Page, because last year they let Cody go. And we found out a reason as to why Cody Rhodes left AEW, and he left AEW because of a personal issue. What that personal issue is, we have no idea, and we will probably never know what that personal issue was. But Cody Rhodes was one of the EVPs of AEW. AEW, and I've been saying this for months now, cannot afford to lose the Elite. Because if you think about it, if the Elite ever went to the WWE, That's every one of the EVPs that made this company what it was going to the opposite side. But also the Elite would be bigger stars because of it. Not to say that the Elite are not big stars now, because they absolutely are big stars, and they are bigger stars because of AEW. But you don't think if Kenny Omega, right, went to AEW or WWE, I should say, he'd be given the AJ Styles treatment. They would book Kenny Omega like a fucking megastar over there. If you don't believe me, look at Cody Rhodes. Look at Cody Rhodes and what he is doing now. Cody Rhodes is on the verge of becoming the face of the company. We have a top babyface and a top heel right now in the WWE. We got Roman Reigns and we got Cody Rhodes. Those are your two big stars. With AEW, with them possibly losing the Elite, it would just be a bad look on the company. Because at the end of the day, if they lost the Elite, what would be the identity of AEW? I'll give you the answer for that. There'd be no identity in AEW. So it's great that AEW and Tony Khan had the priorities set in stone, and right as soon as 2023 started, we're like, we're going to keep these fucking guys. And this was the thing. And this was during a time where AEW was kind of struggling internally, not business sense, but internally and morale-wise. Because last year they were getting tested a lot. They were put under the ringer, not only dealing with a lot of injuries, but they were dealing with a lot of drama. And then, of course, the brawl-out situation happened with CM Punk and, the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega and, Hangman Adam Page, CM Punk going off on a Hangman Adam Page. A lot of crazy shit happened the past year. And a lot of people, including myself, thought, what if CM Punk is the catalyst to drive the Elite away from AEW? Now CM Punk is back, and now we have the Elite re-signing with AEW. Could things have a little, settled a little bit? I think so. I was at the belief, and I am still at the belief, that AEW has recovered tremendously from all the drama that was stemming through Brawl Out last year. Because trust me, that was a shit show. An absolute shit show. There was still drama regarding CM Punk, leading to his return, of course, to the first Collision. But still, I think this is great. We got CM Punk back for Collision, and now we have the Elite re-signing with AEW. Now, what's interesting about this whole Fightful update is regarding the Young Bucks. We've heard that there is certainly some quote-unquote movement on the potential of them facing FTR in a long-awaited rematch. And we've not heard about the potential of a CM Punk Elite feud being approached. The Young Bucks versus FTR. Think about it. If you want a mega match for All In, that's a tag match right there. Now, are they going to feud with CM Punk? At this stage of the game, I doubt it. I mean, hopefully tonight at Dynamite 200, they will announce some matches for All In. But the Elite are going to be on the show, and they're going to be fucking wrestling Jeff Jarrett, Jay Lethal, and Satnam Singh, which is a nothing match. I mean, of all people, the Elite, who just signed new contracts, you're putting them in the fucking match with Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal. Really? I think something's going to happen after that match. I have no idea. Is it going to involve CM Punk? No. But I still, a part of me inside really wants this feud to happen. I really want this feud to happen, and just because it's just there. Everybody knows. Everybody wants to see this match. But again, this is nothing but good news. This is positive news. The Elite stay with AEW. This is great. AEW is now going to be stable. I mean, they're on the verge of signing a new deal with Warner Brothers Discovery. They're definitely in negotiation talks. We got All In happening at Wembley Stadium. Damn near 80,000 people in that fucking stadium. It's going to be a big show, not only for AEW, it's going to be a big show for professional wrestling. We got All Out. And we also got Dynamite Grand Slam happening at Arthur Ashe Stadium in September. A lot of shit's going on in AEW that's very, very, very positive. You'll love to see it. If you compare AEW to where they were in 2021, look, AEW is not as hot as they were 2 years ago. But if you compare where AEW is now comparing to where they were in the summer of last year heading into the fall, they're in a much better state because they were definitely put in the ringer last year. And they were dealing with a lot of bullshit regarding drama, internally, fights backstage, you name it. It was a fucking war zone back there. But now, with them, re-signing, signing extensions with Jericho and Moxley, now re-signing the Elite, and now, bringing back Punk, everything is starting to come back in place. And that is what I want to see. At the end of the day, we want this company to succeed because Without AEW, the business is in shambles. It really is. I'm glad the Elite is re-signed with AEW. They signed new deals with the company, and we're going to be seeing the Elite in AEW for the foreseeable future. Another thing that I want to talk about regarding the Elite is all these fucking WWE fans. Now, I'm not going to use the word tribalism. I hate that fucking word because I guarantee you, little over a year ago or 2 years ago, nobody fucking used that word. I'm telling you that right now. I don't like the word because everybody is using that word. I don't like the word because of what it means, but I also don't like the word because everybody else is using it. So I'm not going to use the word tribalism. But it very well does exist. I'm going to call it allegiance. Allegiance in pro wrestling exists. I'm not going to call that shit tribalism. But I will say, these damn WWE stands, man. I'm not going to say E-drones. These Fed stands, bro. They all fucking hated Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, and everybody else. And I would see these tweets by these fans saying, please, Triple H, do not sign the Elite to WWE. And I look at these tweets and I'm like, are you fucking stupid? These people deadass think that WWE wouldn't have signed the Elite in a fucking heartbeat. Are you joking with me? They would have signed these guys so quickly. Look at back in 2018. Look at 2018, man. This was immediately after All In. By the end of 2018, the Elite were as hot as they were. Cody, the Bucks, Kenny, all their contracts were going up at the same fucking time. Triple H, and he was even noted, they went after them hard. They gave them everything that they wanted, and the Bucks and everybody else still declined. And there weren't like heavy, negotiations with WWE because they were still under contract. But still, you do not think AEW would have signed them in a heartbeat? Bro, they would have easily signed them in a heartbeat. You don't think Triple H looked at the popularity of the Elite and I'm like, bro, I want that shit on my show? I know for a fact Triple H would have wanted them. But, unfortunately, we didn't get it. And they didn't get it, and they're going to be staying with AEW for the foreseeable future because even the Bucks, Kenny, and Hangman know, we represent this company, and if we leave, this company is finished. Not legitimately, but just the spirit of the company is just not going to be there. So we're going to be staying. Hats off to Kenny, the Bucks, and Hangman. They signed new deals, and they deserve every fucking dollar that they got. I know a lot of people do not like the Young Bucks. A lot of people do not like Kenny Omega. A lot of people do not like Hangman Adam Page. Especially the Bucks. A lot of people do not like the Bucks. But I don't give a shit what anybody says. They deserve every fucking dollar that they get. Because if you think about it, the reason why a lot of people do not like the Young Bucks is because of the fact that they made it on their own. They made it by themselves. They made it to the dance on their own. They did not need the WWE machine to back them. And it led to the creation of All Elite Wrestling. And look where it got them. They're on the path to success, and they're making as much money as they possibly can. Hats off to the Elite, and they are still All Elite with All Elite Wrestling. All right, in our next story, we are going to be talking about Vincent Kennedy McMahon. Yes, Vince McMahon is in the news once again. Remember last summer where, there was a big-ass investigation about Vince McMahon, about all these affairs he had, and he was paying, money to all these women, and he was making them sign NDAs to make them, shut up and stuff. And he basically threw money at all these situations. Well, Mr. Mustache, Vince McMahon, he was served with a search warrant back in July, and he was subpoenaed on July. Nick Khan had no comment when asked on Wednesday. Of course, I'm reading this from the F4W Online, the people at the Wrestling Observer. Earlier this month, U.S. federal law enforcement agents executed both a search warrant and grand jury subpoena on WWE Executive Chairman Vince McMahon. That news came courtesy of WWE's quarterly SEC filings on Wednesday, where the development was reported. In a quote, it states, on July 17th, 2023, federal law enforcement agents executed a search warrant and served a federal grand jury subpoena on Mr. McMahon. No charges have brought in these investigations. The company had received voluntarily and compulsory legal demands on documents, or for documents, including from federal law enforcement and regulatory agencies concerning the investigation and related subject matters. Specifics of what the agents were looking for are still unknown. McMahon, and then WWE itself, released comments afterward on Wednesday morning to staff about the developments, courtesy of WrestleNomics. From Mr. McMahon, he states, and I quote, In 2022, WWE formed a special committee to review allegations of misconduct against me. That review was concluded in November of 2022 following an extensive investigation. Throughout this experience, I have always denied any intentional wrongdoing and continue to do so. Yeah, that's a fucking lie. I'm confident that the government's investigation will be resolved without any findings of wrongdoing. I am focused on completing the recovery process from my recent spinal surgery and on closing our transaction with Endeavor, which will create one of the preeminent global sports and entertainment brands. From WWE themselves, they state, and I quote, "We believe that this is a continuation of the investigation that commenced last summer. WWE has cooperated throughout and fully understands and respects the government's need to complete the process." WWE CEO Nick Khan was asked about the development on Wednesday's investors' call and declined to answer other than saying WWE would fully cooperate. What are my thoughts on this? Look, there was more. I mean, could there be more shit on Vince McMahon? Yeah. I mean, we're not at this point. I'm not surprised. I mean, Vince McMahon, people tend to, differentiate, the character with the actual person. But when it comes to Vince McMahon, the character, I mean, he's not really, far off as a different person, man. Vince McMahon, the character, and Vince McMahon, the person, are very similar to one another. Just look at the fucking accusations that were revealed last year, and look at all the, money he threw around to stop all the situations that was going on around him. And then he comes back, he forced himself back in the company. He's slightly making changes to creative. Like, he's not fully back in charge in creative. Triple H is still running the creative ends, but he's still making minor changes. Vince McMahon is making like the smallest of smallest changes. And then once the Endeavor thing is fully set in stone, who knows? He's probably going to be in the weeds even more, as Vince McMahon stated in that interview a couple of months ago, the night or the morning after WrestleMania, when, of course, they announced the Endeavor deal. What do I think the solution of this whole situation is going to be? It's that simple. Vince McMahon is going to throw money at the situation, and whatever they find, Vince McMahon will pay. Because that's what he always does. And I hate to be the guy that says this, but this is not going to lead to anything. Is he going to be gone from the WWE? No, he signed a contract. And that contract states that he will remain in the WWE for like 2 years. I don't even know what it was. And this was for the Endeavor deal. There was a reason why he sold the company to Endeavor and why the transaction is going to be continuing on until the end of the year. It's because Ariel Emanuel has been friends with Vince McMahon for years, for damn near 20 years. And Vince McMahon still wants the power and the reins of the company. He was forced out last year. That's what people need to understand. He was forced out last year. It was not an intentional thing. Vince McMahon was clearly forced out because of all the accusations going on against him. And if there's more shit that they ever reveal, which I doubt there is, but if there is, Vince McMahon is going to throw money in the situation and he's going to call it a day. That's what it is. And it sucks. It really does suck because he shouldn't even be running the company. Even at his age, he shouldn't even be running the company. He's a phenomenal businessman, but when it comes to the creative reins, he's fucking out of touch. But still, he shouldn't even be running the company at all. He really shouldn't. Because again, he's like 77 years old? He's in his fucking 70s, man. He has this freaking mustache looking like a whole pimp, with all due respect. I appreciate everything that Vince McMahon has done for this business, but it's time for him to go. But is he going to go? No, because he can't let it go. That's just the nature of the situation. He's going to throw money at the situation, and he calls it a day. It's that simple. I think nothing is coming out of this. That's all I'm going to say about that whole scenario. All right. Now we're going to be talking about the Cody Rhodes documentary. Of course, the Cody Rhodes documentary dropped 2 days ago on Peacock, and I watched the whole documentary. What are my overall thoughts on the Cody Rhodes documentary? I thought this documentary was great. When it comes to the documentaries that WWE puts out when they are on Peacock, they are phenomenal. Even in the WWE Network, man, I always loved those WWE 24 documentaries. They've been phenomenal, but their Icon series I loved. I loved their Evil series, which was a series talking about heels in the business. That was phenomenal. And this American Nightmare Becoming Cody Rhodes documentary is no different. From the production and from everything, they did not shy away from a lot of things. And I loved Cody's story, man. He talked about, starting off, in the wrestling business. He talked about how he idolized his father and he wanted to be like his dad because he wanted to be the WWE champion. And, of course, Dusty Rhodes, even though he held the WWE championship, he didn't actually win it because he won the match via countout. And I think that was against superstar Billy Graham. God rest his soul. And then, of course, he talks about, later on, when he started out in the WWE and everybody was like looking at him being great. And he talked about the different characters that he portrayed after Legacy, because Legacy was a trio with Randy Orton. It was led by Randy Orton. It was Cody Rhodes and Ted DiBiase Jr. I remember Legacy. But he talked about Dashing Cody Rhodes, which is the version of Cody Rhodes that I was introduced to Cody Rhodes with when I first started watching wrestling. So I love how they mentioned that. Talked about his Intercontinental Championship run, which was sadly ended by Big Show at WrestleMania 28. So they talked about that. And then they talked about Stardust. Talked about how he made Stardust work, but, really with Stardust, it just didn't work for him, and he didn't like the direction that they were going with him. And then, of course, Dusty Rhodes eventually passed away, and then, that really affected Cody emotionally. He came back at Stardust. He wrestled against Stephen Amell. I believe it was Stephen Amell and Pac wrestling Stardust. And Cody Rhodes at that point was just kind of miserable. He talked about one point in there was like a creative meeting, and he kept on bugging creative. And one of the creative writers literally waved their hand like this to basically just ignore Cody Rhodes, which was so fucked up. And basically Cody Rhodes was like, you know what? I'm done. I request my release. And he requested his release, and he went on in the independents. And that was really where Cody Rhodes started to gain more momentum and more success, because that ability to go out from the WWE and really leave that WWE shadow behind and just go on your own. It's a very motivational thing. A lot of guys, I've always talked, I haven't talked to wrestlers, but I've always believed that the WWE is not always the end all be all in things. If you want to be successful, there's so many different outlets to go on. Yes, the WWE is the industry leader, but again, there's so many different options in which you can be successful. Case in point, look at Kenny Omega. Look at AJ Styles. For like 11 years, he spent in TNA, and he was basically considered the face of TNA. With Cody Rhodes, he was definitely grinding on the independents, and he later on mentions the Young Bucks, and they showed a lot of BTE footage. So shout out to Matt and Nick Jackson for allowing to have that BTE footage be shown on this documentary. They showed a lot about the All In show, of course, the original All In show that happened in Chicago at the Now Arena, which was formerly the Sears Center back in 2018. And it was a big deal because if you think about it, All In basically started, from a tweet by Dave Meltzer. And it was basically Dave Meltzer being asked, can anybody sell out a 10,000-seat arena? And, Dave Meltzer was like, no, not anytime. Only WWE is like the only town to do it. And Cody tweeted back, and he was like, I'll take that bet. And then they announced All In, and All In was an immediate sellout. And, of course, All In was the show where Cody Rhodes won the NWA World title from Nick Aldis, and it was a great moment for Cody Rhodes. And then they later on talk about the formation of All Elite Wrestling. They briefly mentioned AEW, but they didn't dive. They didn't dive all the way deep into AEW. But one thing that Cody Rhodes talked about was why he left AEW. And this was one of the bigger talking points from this whole documentary. And this was really, when I was talking about this documentary last week, I was saying, the AEW stuff is going to be very newsworthy. And a lot of people are going to have different opinions on what Cody Rhodes is going to say. But Cody Rhodes talked about why he left AEW. In a quote by Cody Rhodes, he stated, I can't tell you why I left AEW. I can't. And I won't, Rhodes said. But I can tell you the reasons that were said that didn't actually matter. I didn't leave AEW because of money, and I didn't leave AEW because of other talents. So right there, dirt sheets in the fucking mud. Remember last year where people were talking about Cody Rhodes, leaving AEW, and it was all because of money, and he wasn't getting the offer that he really deserved. Yeah, clearly Tony Khan offered him a boatload of fucking cash, and even Cody Rhodes even admitted to that in the interviews leading up to this documentary. And then later on, Cody Rhodes states, and I quote, I left AEW because of a personal issue. That's it. But the byproduct of leaving AEW is the opportunity to go for the biggest dream that I ever had and the first dream that I had in my life. And of course, he is mentioning going after the WWE Championship. Not blatantly, but he clearly stated multiple times in this interview, his first ever dream was to wrestle at WrestleMania and win the WWE Championship. That particular championship, the WWE Championship. And what's funny is immediately after, they pan to Triple H. And Triple H says, your dream, is not to be the champion of a secondary promotion. Your dream is to be the champion of the WWE. And those few seconds of Triple H stating the words that he stated caused a lot of uproar on social media. It was absolutely fucking crazy. What are my thoughts on Triple H's comments? Now, he didn't, word by word, he didn't mention AEW by name. He just mentioned, you don't want to be the champion of a secondary promotion. You dream of being the champion of the WWE. That's what he stated. People on the internet made such a big fucking deal out of this whole scenario. I swear to God, the wrestling community loves instigating a lot of shit. They love instigating stuff that doesn't really need to be instigated. They made something out of nothing in a bad way. And this pissed me off so bad. It really did. Look, I will say this. Triple H and his tone sounded a little fucked up in a way. Not only that, but it sounded a little weird because this was immediately after when Cody Rhodes stated, and this was in the documentary, immediately after Cody Rhodes stated why he left AEW, they immediately turned to Triple H and, basically stated, you don't want to be the champion of a secondary promotion, you want to be the champion of the WWE. The way he said it kind of sounded like, there's a little bit of animosity over there because think about this. NXT was basically thrown under the rug and they were forced to go head-to-head with AEW, and I don't give a shit what anybody says. AEW is not the only, one of the catalysts as to why NXT is what it is now, and that it's basically one of the catalysts as to why NXT became NXT 2.0, because NXT failed to beat AEW Dynamite in the ratings. Could there be a little bit of animosity right there on Triple H's behalf? I have no idea. But it is what it is. I didn't view it as a big deal because at the end of the day, AEW is a secondary promotion. That is not a bad thing. They are the number 2 promotion in the world, and they are the number 2 promotion in the United States. And they will always be number 2. But just because you're number 2 doesn't mean, you're second fiddle to the WWE. Because I'll tell you this right now, the AEW product 2 years ago, I would have been like, bro, AEW is so much better than the WWE because WWE does not know what the fuck to do with their talent. And look at now. AEW, the number 2 promotion, is selling damn near 80,000 tickets to Wembley Stadium. Name one other wrestling promotion that is not WWE that sold that many tickets to a stadium. Not that I know of. TNA could never do that. But AEW is still the number 2 promotion. But they are not only the number 2 promotion, they are an alternative. They are an alternative, and they are also competition to WWE. I don't give a shit. You can compare ratings, whatever. AEW at the end of the day is competition to the WWE. And if you think otherwise, you're a fucking fool. And WWE, even though on interviews they would say they're not our competition, everybody's our competition, clearly their actions show that AEW is their competition. NXT going head-to-head with AEW on Wednesday nights. Think about this. NXT was, yes, they were on Wednesdays, but AEW, their original intentions was not going on Wednesdays. They wanted to go on Tuesdays, hence why they trademarked Tuesday Night Dynamite. Remember that? Remember, when they had their Fight for the Fallen show, the very first show in Daly's Place? This was in 2019, a couple months before the launch of Dynamite, and they put an Evolve show on the WWE Network head-to-head against that Fight for the Fallen show, which, by the way, was a charity show for the victims of gun violence. Remember that? Remember that? They've done a lot of shady shit. Remember the Nick Gage match with Chris Jericho? WWE fucked with AEW sponsors. They were the ones that did that. AEW loves fucking with AEW. Putting NXT and their pay-per-views head-to-head against one of AEW's major pay-per-views earlier this year. They clearly are seeing what AEW is doing, and they clearly view them as competition. But this notion of fans being angry about Triple H, saying AEW, you don't want to be the champion of a secondary promotion. Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? AEW is the number 2. They are number 2. They are an alternative. I don't know why fans are upset by people calling AEW a number 2. Those are facts. They are the number 2 promotion. WWE is the industry leader. It's that simple. What's facts is facts. I don't know why fans are so upset about that stuff. Out of all the things they picked around in this documentary, instead of talking about the whole documentary, they talked about 5 seconds of what Triple H stated in that documentary. He didn't bury AEW. Of all people, of course Triple H is going to say shit like that. He's been working in the WWE for all his fucking life. What else do you expect him to say? Do you honestly, it's no secret anymore. I don't know why fans are so surprised about Triple H saying some stuff like that. WWE is WWE, and they don't give a shit what they do. I thought fans knew this already. Why are we making bullshit out of nothing? Stop making bullshit out of nothing and just move on. That's all I got to say about that, but it's just so retarded. Retarded on fans' end, man. They love instigating. Wrestling fans are the worst types of fans in the world. You may think Star Wars fans are the worst fans in the world. Nah, man. Wrestling fans are like top-notch, the worst fan base in the history of fan bases. They love making bullshit out of nothing. Stop instigating, please. Stop. The IWC is ridiculous. But nonetheless, after Cody Rhodes, after this whole thing about Cody Rhodes talking about why he left AEW, I believe this was like a day later, Brandi Rhodes actually put out a tweet, and she stated, and I quote, "The truth always finds a way. Sometimes you just have to be patient. But it comes out." What does that imply? Now, Cody Rhodes did particularly state that he left AEW due to a personal issue. What was that personal issue? We do not know. But that personal issue, could it involve Brandi Rhodes? We do not know. And I don't want to speculate. Well, maybe I am, but I don't want to go even further with the speculation. It could be anything. But a personal issue, we'll probably never know. The only people that know is Cody Rhodes and Tony Khan. That is it. But overall, I thought that this documentary was really good. Really, really, really good. Very well produced. You can tell Cody Rhodes is happy where he is at. And hats off for him. Cody Rhodes leaving AEW was the shot in the arm that he needed for the direction of his career. Cody Rhodes leaving AEW to go to the WWE was beneficial for his career. And the biggest takeaway that I can give you, if you're any wrestler, is to bet on yourself. That is the true message of this whole documentary. Cody Rhodes bet on himself. He hated the Stardust thing. He bet on himself. He left the Fed. And he made a name for himself, and he was working from the ground up. They formed AEW. Before that, they did All In. They bet on themselves. Why do you think the term is called All In? It's called All In for a reason. It's about betting on yourself. He didn't basically, near the end of his AEW run, nothing really, came out of it. He was getting booed out of the building, and he left, went to WWE, made his return, I should say, at WrestleMania, and became the biggest babyface because of it. Cody Rhodes is literally right now on the verge of becoming one of the biggest stars in the industry. And you know what? Hats off to Cody, because Cody deserves every bit of respect and every dollar that he gets. Cody Rhodes is an inspiration that a lot of people should really look at, because, again, the true message is that Cody Rhodes bet on himself to get to where he is at. And that is the biggest takeaway that I can give you. And those were my thoughts on the American Nightmare Becoming Cody Rhodes documentary. This documentary was absolutely phenomenal. If you guys haven't checked out this Peacock documentary, I definitely recommend for you guys to definitely give it a watch. 110%. All right. Next up, we're going to be talking about AEW Collision. AEW Collision this past Saturday draws their best ratings since the premiere episode. Of course, the show is headlined by FTR versus MJF and Adam Cole. I'm reading this from the people at the Wrestling Observer, F4W Online. Saturday night's AEW Collision averaged 739,000 viewers on TNT, up 19.6% from the previous week. It is the highest audience total for the show since the premiere episode on June 17th. Collision drew a .27 rating in the 18 to 49 demographic, which was up 50% from last week. That is also the best number in the show that has done since the .31 rating it drew for the premiere. Collision went head-to-head with the UFC 291 prelims, or 291, I should say, prelims, which averaged more than 1 million viewers and drew a .3 rating on ABC. The prelims also aired on ESPN and ESPN+. Collision had the MLB on Fox as a direct competition as well. The baseball game averaged more than 2 million viewers and drew a .35 rating in the 18 to 49 demographic, so the competition was tougher than it's been as of late. The biggest increase for Collision came with men 18 to 34, which were up 180.6% from last week. It's Collision's best viewership in the demo since the premiere. Collision was actually down 61.3% with females in that same age group, which was the only demo show that the show had a decrease on. So yeah, AEW Collision drew 739,000 viewers. Great. I thought the Collision show was phenomenal. I thought a lot of the stuff that we saw was great. The CM Punk segment with Ricky Starks was awesome. It set the tone for what we're going to be seeing for the next couple months with CM Punk. The Adam Cole and MJF stuff, if you look at the quarters for that show, MJF and Adam Cole were the top draw of that show. Clearly shows that MJF and Adam Cole are proven draws now, which is so good to see. Keep it going. Just keep it going. But not only that, you know, it shows, even with all the competition, man, we had the UFC 291 prelims on there, and they still drew a really high rating. That was their second best rating ever. Say what you want about the Collision ratings. I remember fucking Disco Inferno, right? He retweeted one of my tweets, you know, when I believe it was like the third, it was either the second or third week of Collision, you know, where the ratings came out for the third week, and they were like really low. They were like roughly in the 400,000 range. And he would retweet everybody's tweets talking about how Collision is not Rampage. I got a newsflash for you. Those people are fucking silent. Clearly it shows. Collision is not Rampage. If anything, Collision is better than Dynamite. Say what you want about the ratings. It's a Saturday night. Not a lot of people are going to watch TV, and not only that, it's a tough time slot to sell. Not even a tough time slot because it's from 8 to 10, but it's a tough night to sell because there's so much shit going on Saturday nights. But if you look at it from a creative standpoint, and just a presentation standpoint, Collision is 10 times better than Dynamite. Not to say anything against Dynamite, but Collision is 10 times better than what you see on AEW Dynamite. Because there's more focus, there's more stories that are being told on AEW Collision, and there's just more focus on the cast of characters that they have. You know, Collision is the CM Punk show, but Collision later on became the Jay White show. It became the Bullet Club Gold show. It became the Ricky Starks show. It became the FTR show. Became the Miro show. That's the biggest benefit and the biggest takeaway that I can give you for AEW Collision. AEW Collision is phenomenal. And it's going to be very interesting to see what's going to happen this coming Saturday because they're going to go head-to-head with SummerSlam. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb and say this. I'm going to prioritize SummerSlam than I am Collision. I'm going to be watching SummerSlam, and I'm going to be covering SummerSlam first, and then I'm going to be covering Collision. I'm not going to be watching Collision on Saturday. That is because SummerSlam is happening, and SummerSlam is one of the biggest shows of the year. But we have CM Punk versus Ricky Starks for the Real World Championship with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat as the special guest referee. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens in Collision, but these past couple of weeks, man, Collision has been phenomenal. I've been enjoying Collision, and it's literally the best wrestling show of the week, period. Collision is clearly better than Dynamite, and Collision has been a phenomenal show as of late. So, yeah, hats off to AEW with the success of AEW Collision. All right. We're going to be talking about a little bit of news for AEW All In. A WWE legend has been discussed for AEW All In. Apparently, according to Fightful Select, the whole fucking show just might be the biggest effing show outside of WWE in history. Fightful Select has learned that there have been internal discussions regarding possibly bringing in former WWE champion Rob Van Dam. Of course, RVD 420 says, "I just smoked your ass." Informer, of course, specifically one of the ideas that we heard mention him was facing the FTW champion Jack Perry at All In or All Out. Though none of this is confirmed as of yet, Rob Van Dam has never made an AEW appearance as of yet, but in the past couple of weeks, Jack Perry has been targeting several ECW alumni. In addition to holding the FTW title, he took verbal aim at Taz and was face-to-face with Jerry Lynn. The 52-year-old Rob Van Dam hasn't wrestled on U.S. television in nearly 3 years since leaving Impact Wrestling. However, he stayed semi-active, competing every year since 1990 and even working a Noah date in 2022. What are my thoughts on Rob Van Dam potentially going to AEW to face Jack Perry? I'm not really that intrigued with the story that they're telling with Jack Perry and the FTW title and ECW and shit. I mean, any wrestling promotion loves milking the shit out of ECW. WWE milked the shit out of ECW when it couldn't go, until it couldn't go anymore. TNA milked the shit out of ECW. Remember that Hardcore Justice? That was basically their version of One Night Stand, and it fucking failed miserably. There's so many different ECW reunion shows, it was insane. But nonetheless, RVD, I think, is one of the guys that are still active, I believe, and he's still good, even at his age. He's still relatively good at what he does. But I wouldn't be mad about RVD really facing Jack Perry. Now, it's going to be interesting to see who goes over, but nonetheless, I'm down to see what's going to be going on. And honestly, if RVD shows up in AEW, I wouldn't be angry about that whatsoever. So, yeah, those are my thoughts on that. All right. We got an update on Randy Orton. Randy Orton is healing up, and this is according to Fightful Select, but we haven't heard that he's headed back just quite yet. The future Hall of Famer Randy Orton has been sidelined since May of 2022 with an injury that Fightful Select learned was a lower back fusion. Over the past year or so, Fightful has reported some progress on his status, and we've learned a bit of an update. Sources within WWE Creative said that as of this past week, Randy Orton had not been factored into WWE Creative plans whatsoever. Fightful has heard that he's not yet cleared for in-ring training or action, and those we've spoken to say that there hasn't been any extensive conversation about what the plans are for Orton. As of right now, before in-ring training resumes, Orton is planning to make a return to the ring. However, the lower back fusion isn't typical amongst pro wrestlers and is uncharted territory for many. Doctors have told Orton that wrestling in the future isn't a good idea, but he still plans on it. And he has resumed lifting, and we've told that he's huge as a result. Orton has resumed working out, but hasn't been resumed bumping, and will likely be brought into the Performance Center to do so. When we asked a WWE source if Orton would be returning at WWE SummerSlam, they said to not count on it, and that he'd not been factored into any creative that they heard of. If Orton is planning on an imminent return, it's being kept quiet. We do not know Randy Orton's status at this point. Clearly, he's not cleared for an in-ring return yet, but I will say once he makes his return, his presence is definitely going to be felt. Now, if he returns, we do not know when. A lot of people are saying SummerSlam, but I doubt he's not. I don't think he's going to be returning at SummerSlam, but who is Randy Orton going to be feuding with? It only comes to two names that come to mind, and that is, of course, Matt Riddle and Cody Rhodes. Both of them make total sense. But if you when you want to bring Randy Orton back, I think the best feud for him is Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle is a perfect feud for Randy Orton once he comes back, and then you can move on to the Cody Rhodes feud. That is my opinion on the nature of the situation. But when it comes to his status, we do not know his status, and we do not know whether he's going to be cleared or not. His injury was very severe, but hopefully he comes back stronger than ever, and hopefully, he just comes back and really tears up the house down, because Randy Orton's presence is definitely missed on WWE television. Of course, we have news on Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus. WWE Raw saw a big development for a match that was planned for SummerSlam. Fightful Select learned Monday night that Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus, the match that was originally planned for SummerSlam, was delayed. We're told that things are being changed by this weekend regarding Trish Stratus and Becky Lynch, and that the match was discussed to be moved back to WWE Payback before it was announced for August 14th. The promo and the match in totality was scheduled for one segment on WWE Raw. Becky Lynch wasn't originally scheduled to take time off around SummerSlam, despite that being rumored online. Okay, my thoughts on Trish Stratus and Becky Lynch being delayed. Honestly, I'm to be quite honest with you, I'm not really I could care less, honestly. I really could give a shit. I mean, Trish Stratus and Becky Lynch has not been good. And honestly, it'd be best for them to move that match back, honestly, because that feud has been absolutely atrocious. So, yeah, those are my thoughts on that. But moving on, and our final thing that we are going to be discussing is, of course, SummerSlam 2023. I'm going to be giving you guys my preview and predictions for this Saturday's SummerSlam in Detroit at Ford Field. The last time WWE was in Detroit at Ford Field was back in 2007 at WrestleMania 23. And it was, of course, headlined by John Cena taking on Shawn Michaels for the WWE Championship. Now, of course, less than 20 years later, in a couple years, it's going to be 2027, and that's going to mark 20 years, which is going to be fucking crazy. I'm going to feel old. But we got WWE returning to Ford Field. Overall, I'm very excited to see what's going to be happening at SummerSlam because this card looks very stacked. You may say the build has not been the best, but some of these matches that we see on this show are going to be fucking classics. In our first match of the evening, we got Logan Paul taking on Ricochet. You guys already know my thoughts on Logan Paul versus Ricochet. I think they have built this match very, very, very well. I think Logan Paul is phenomenal at what he does, and I think Ricochet is phenomenal at what he does. Now, it's pretty obvious that Ricochet is not good in his mic skills, but I digress. Logan Paul and Ricochet are going to tear the fucking house down. If this match opens SummerSlam, I'm going to be a happy man because, again, Logan Paul and Ricochet, Logan Paul, it's no secret, he has proven time and time again that he can go with a lot of the toughest in the WWE. And honestly, with Logan Paul, wrestling Ricochet, it's going to make Logan Paul 10 times greater than he already is. And Logan Paul is going to make Ricochet 10 times greater than he already is as well. Both men are going to make each other look phenomenally well. That said, who do I think should be winning this match? A lot of people are saying Logan Paul, but honestly, I genuinely believe this to be a fact, or maybe not to be a fact, but I do see Ricochet getting the win. I see Ricochet getting the win, but that is not to say that Logan Paul is not going to look strong because Logan Paul will clearly look strong in this match. We got Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler. This match, of course, is years in the making for some fans. The build for this match has been fucking atrocious, but they redeemed themselves this past Monday on Raw with those very well-produced video packages showcasing the history of Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey. Overall, I absolutely loved those video packages. They were phenomenal. Everything about those video packages were great because it showcased a sense of realism in what you were watching and something that we really haven't seen regarding Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey in a long-ass time. It honestly felt like something that UFC would do, but with a pro wrestling spin on it. Now, this match is going to be an MMA rules match. I think that is a mistake. This match should be a fight pit match, but apparently WWE is not going to do that. Who is going to win this match? I see Shayna Baszler getting the win. Now, we do not know what Ronda Rousey's status is going to be immediately after SummerSlam because there's been a lot of rumors about possibly Ronda Rousey leaving. We do not know. Ronda Rousey's recent run has been fucking terrible, but I think Shayna Baszler will get the win. We got the SummerSlam Battle Royal. Some contestants that are announced for the match. We got Sheamus, LA Knight, Shinsuke Nakamura, Otis, Chad Gable, and Tommaso Ciampa. So those are the announced participants that are going to be in this SummerSlam Battle Royale. Honestly, LA Knight is the guy to win, period. Moving on. And look, I shouldn't even be saying this, man. LA Knight is so over with the audience. Why the fuck would you give it to somebody else? LA Knight is that over with the audience. If you do not give him a fucking Battle Royal win, clearly something's wrong with the WWE. We got the Intercontinental Championship match with Gunther defending his title against Drew McIntyre. This is going to be a phenomenal match, man. Of course, we had the triple threat match with Drew McIntyre, Gunther, and Sheamus, but that was a three-way. This time, it's one-on-one. And I don't know, man. Both men are going to absolutely murder each other. Those chops are going to be fucking loud, but who's going to win? I know a lot of people are pointing out Drew McIntyre could possibly win the Intercontinental Championship, but I actually do not think he will win the Intercontinental Championship. I think Gunther will retain because Gunther right now is on the run of a lifetime as the IC champion, and he will be on a dominant run by the end of this year. And he was going to, after he drops that Intercontinental Championship, he's going to go immediately after the World Championship. I think it's pretty obvious that he's going to go after the World Championship once he drops the IC title. But this match is going to be a fucking war, and both men are going to just absolutely murder each other. So who do I think is going to be winning this match? Mr. Ring General Gunther is going to win and retain the Intercontinental Championship. We got the Women's Championship triple threat match. We got Asuka, who's the champion, defending her title against Bianca Belair and Charlotte Flair. I've not been invested at all in this whole match. Honestly, I could care less. I like Asuka, but I think her title reign has kind of taken a back seat. Bianca Belair is overly repetitive, and don't even get me started with Charlotte. But overall, I think it's going to be a great match, and honestly, I would take this 9 times out of 10 over Trish Stratus versus Becky Lynch. Who do I think is going to be winning this match? I think it's obvious Asuka's going to be retaining. There's no way Charlotte is going to win, and there's no way Bianca Belair is going to win. Y'all really need to establish Asuka as like this unbeatable fucking champion, because I feel like they're not really doing that right now with Asuka. We got the World Heavyweight Championship match with Seth Rollins taking on Finn Balor. This is a very complex scenario because a lot of different things could happen in this match. Now, we do know the Judgment Day is one of the top acts on WWE television right now. And the story that they're telling is Finn Balor has nothing. Damian Priest has the Money in the Bank briefcase. Dominic has the NXT North American Championship. And Rhea Ripley has the Women's World Championship. But Finn Balor has nothing. They've been teasing a potential cash-in with Damian Priest. Could this be the night where Damian Priest cashes in and wins the World Heavyweight Championship? I honestly doubt it. But that said, I do think this is the night where Seth Rollins will drop the World Heavyweight title and he will give it to Finn Balor. Because I think Finn Balor absolutely deserves it. He's been in the main roster since 2016. And honestly, if you really look at the course of his entire main roster run, he hasn't really been doing anything. Judgment Day has elevated Finn Balor even further. And if you take that away and not, have Finn Balor win the World Heavyweight Championship, what are we doing here? So my pick to win this match is Finn Balor. Finn Balor, this Saturday at Ford Field at SummerSlam, will be your new World Heavyweight Champion. And of course, we got the main event. Tribal Combat. We got Roman Reigns defending his undisputed championship against Jey Uso, the former right-hand man of Roman Reigns. What the hell is going to be happening, man? The build for this match has been phenomenal. Of course, this is the match that everybody is excited to see. A lot of people are saying Jey Uso is going to be winning, but I don't think he's going to be winning because WWE has long-term plans for Cody Rhodes. Clearly, the plan is by WrestleMania 40 next year in Philadelphia, Cody is going to dethrone Roman Reigns. It's pretty obvious that that's going to be happening. And we all know Jey Uso did pin Roman Reigns back at Money in the Bank. If Jey Uso was the one that pinned Roman Reigns for the first time in however many years, then clearly once they have a one-on-one match, he's not going to be winning. That's just wrestling one-on-one at the end of the day. But I will say this. Jey Uso will look very, very, very strong in this match. And there will be times in the match where you deadass would think, oh my God, he's going to win. Oh my God, he's going to be the WWE Undisputed Champion. But I hate to break it to you, Roman is going to be retaining that title. Because, again, WWE has long-term plans for Roman Reigns all the way until WrestleMania 40. And that is fine. That is honestly fine because, again, Jey Uso has been elevated from this bloodline storyline to the point where he's honestly, now a much bigger star because of it. Is he going to be on the level of an attraction like Roman Reigns? No, but he can be a workhorse that can carry a company. That's how I view Jey Uso. But is he going to win the Undisputed Championship? No, I doubt it. I don't think he's going to do it. I heard a lot of people say that we could possibly have Jimmy Uso come back and turn on Jey Uso. I honestly doubt it, but if that happens, I don't know if I'm against it or for it. It all depends on the moment and what would happen during that match if the turn ever happened. But we're going to have to wait and see. But my pick to win this match is clearly the Tribal Chief, the head of the table, the undisputed Universal Heavyweight Champion, Roman Reigns, will retain the undisputed title against Jey Uso at SummerSlam this Saturday. So yeah, those were my SummerSlam predictions. Overall, I think the show is going to be absolutely phenomenal. I think the show is going to be great. WWE does not miss on pay-per-view. They do not miss on their premium live events, and I'm very excited to see what's going to be going down. But yeah, that was episode 24 of the WrestleHavoc podcast. We definitely talked about a lot of topics, and it's going to be a very, very, very newsworthy next couple of weeks regarding AEW, WWE. We got SummerSlam this Saturday. We got Collision this Saturday. We got Dynamite 200 tonight on TBS. We got All In and we got All Out happening. The Elite re-signed. All is good and well in terms of professional wrestling, and I absolutely love that. But yeah, that's all I got for you guys for episode 24 of the WrestleHavoc podcast. Please like, subscribe, comment down below, push that bell for notifications, and be on the lookout for more videos right here on the WrestleHavoc podcast, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and as the freaking referee would say, ring, ring, ring that damn bell for more notifications. And as always, it is Flamin' Ricky DeRays, signing out. I'll see you guys later for AEW Dynamite 200. Peace.